Hi, love. So, in this video, we're going to talk about how anxious attachment puts us in a leaned forward energy and why we don't want that. What are the impacts of that and what to do about it? So, if you struggle with anxious attachment tendencies, you are likely to be showing up to early dating in a leaned forward energy. And that's going to be exhausting for you and is likely working against you in terms of attraction between a man and a woman. So I'm speaking to women specifically in this video who are looking to attract a masculine man. So what this tends to look like. So it could look like texting him, not hearing back right away, or when you don't hear back right away and then you're following up again, constantly thinking about him, overthinking your texts and conversations, trying too hard to act a certain way that isn't you, trying to plan dates, offering to cancel things for him so you can see him, following up and reaching out instead of allowing him to do that, having very serious conversations early on, sharing too much early on, using physical intimacy to try to create intimacy or get love, and any number of things. But essentially, it's a leaned forward energy. It's a pursuing sort of energy. It's the doing the work energy. So when someone struggles with anxious attachment tendencies, it can easily become preoccupied with the other person, putting that person on a pedestal, worrying about whether they have lost interest or will lose interest or are pulling away or do they like me and where is this going? The focus is essentially other focused. Does this person like me versus, how do I feel about them, or just centered between self and other? An anxious leaning attachment system is very finely tuned to notice any small changes in communication, in the length of time between contact, in emotional distance, etc. You know this if you're anxiously attached. You're very hypervigilant about these things, and you tend to be kind of right? Because you're hypersensitive to it. And so any amount of perceived distance or disconnection is extremely uncomfortable for someone who leans towards anxious attachment, not knowing what's going to happen in the future. That phase of uncertainty that happens in the beginning of getting to know someone is extremely uncomfortable for someone with anxious attachment, and it will send their nervous system into hyperarousal, that freak out state, because anxious attachment is about the fear of loss of connection. Someone with anxious attachment is likely to automatically lean forward in order to try to close the perceived gap between themselves and the other person. And so, what this looks like I said, texting him when you don't hear back right away, following up again, constantly thinking about him, overthinking everything, all your conversations, trying too hard, trying to get him to like you, trying to win him over, following up after dates, not allowing him to do that, canceling plans, being overly available, having serious conversations way too early on, sharing too much about yourself early on, using physical intimacy to try to create that actual intimacy. They'll do this because it is so incredibly distressing to have any kind of gap in between themselves and the love object. And so they want to close that, and be as close to that person and to close that gap as quickly as possible, and really struggle to feel grounded, centered, and calm when things do not feel closed, secure, and connected. And unfortunately, in the beginning stages of dating, it just isn't, because that's what dating is. It's about actually trying to figure out, it's about both people figuring out, is this the right person for me? And there's a level of uncertainty in that is really, really hard for those of us with anxious attachment. So what this does is create an imbalance in the reciprocity between you and the person you are dating, the man that you are interested in. Too much of your attention is on them. Too much of your energy is going toward them. Too much effort is being made too early on. You are leaned forward and you have become the pursuer. A healthy masculine man needs to actually be the pursuer. He needs that space to be the one who is closing the gap more so than you are, whereas you are really meant to be responding to him. So even if a man can't put a name on it, when we start really leaning forward and getting into that pursuing kind of overworking energy, a man feels something is off. And if it's happening really in the beginning, something starts to feel off and he starts to lose interest or attraction, even if at first he was interested. And he often can't even explain what happened or why. This lean forward behavior just doesn't match the level of commitment and investment and the depth of the relationship. And so it does subconsciously do something to how the man is going to perceive you and feel about you. He may begin to feel crowded and controlled and pressured, even if that was not at all your intention. So the problem with this is that it is just not appropriate for that level of commitment, for how long you've known him, for the level of investment he's actually put in. And so as an anxiously attached person, it can be really, really hard not to do this because our nervous system feels so on edge and is looking for that hit of security, for that hit of validation. And so there's always this period of uncertainty in dating. You don't go from strangers to in a committed relationship after 1, 2, or 3 dates, but you'll want to treat that newly budding romance like one. And that's kind of what tends to happen. So this puts you in that anxious lean forward energy, putting you into that pursuer role instead of him. You trying to take the lead on the relationship instead of him. This is going to be really exhausting for you. It's going to be draining. It's going to be frustrating. You might start feeling resentful towards him, and it just doesn't work that well in the beginning of dating. So, like we said, it's really important to work on the root of where these leaned forward, these anxious tendencies are coming from, and be able to date from a more secure place, from a more centered place, and having that understanding of how men are operating differently than you as a woman when it comes to love. So when you are able to do this, when you are able to actually get to the root of some of those tendencies, able to self-soothe better, able to come from that place of security and abundance better, then dating to find your person becomes so much more simple. So in the High Value Woman, my 5-month mastermind for high achieving single women who want help with that inner work, that real deep healing work around their attachment style and the things that are getting brought up and triggered by dating, and the practical guidance on how to navigate dating to find the right man, how to choose that man, how to navigate online dating if you're doing that, just all of the nuts and bolts. We do all of that in the High Value Woman Mastermind. So we identify and work on the root of where these anxious lean forward tendencies are coming from, or whatever your attachment style is. We work on that. Building your self-worth by reprogramming the root of your negative self-beliefs and where they came from. You learn self-regulation skills so you can handle the discomfort and the triggers of early dating without having them overwhelm you and take over you and have you getting into controlling, trying to manage outcomes. Getting you to the place where you will be able to date like a securely attached woman, because that's what you will be. So you can attract and select a healthy, secure man. So we are focused on the practical guidance and skills. This is transformational work. This is not just more information. We're looking into blind spots. We're looking into where you're getting stuck. You'll get to the point where you alleviate so much of the confusion and the anxiety in the early stages of dating, and you know how to best avoid future heartbreaks and instead select a man who is right for you, who commits to you. So we're taking applications for the mastermind and beginning to start enrolling this week. So spots are limited because it's a very small, very high touch program. I know and coach each of you individually. You get to know each other really well, both on our 3 times monthly group coaching calls and in a private Facebook group and with a one-on-one call with me. You get access to an 8-module program that covers all of this, all of the ins and outs of inner work, identifying your patterns, correcting those, as well as dating, online dating profiles, communication with men, and understanding how men operate differently than women when it comes to love, dating, and relationships, embodying your feminine energy, and so much more. It's literally everything. So it's designed to be a complete full program, giving you everything you need to be successful in dating, to find your right man, and with the tools and the knowledge that you need to make it last once you do. So if you're watching on Instagram, you can find the link to all the details about the program and to apply for it in my bio. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can find the link below this video. So I hope to see you inside, and I will see you soon. Bye.